I'd like to point out to you, ladies and gentlemen, that when I speak here today, and although I'm a member of the Board of Governors of NICAP, I am not speaking for them in any sense of the word. I'm speaking for myself, and only for myself. The opinions are mine. The information that I've given you, the statements that I've made are based to a large extent on documents in the possession of NICAP to which I have access. And but I just didn't want any misinterpretation of what I have said or am about to say. F-22 and a 200. And did you pull the slide? Good. Had a guy who took my picture one time, didn't pull the slide. I had to go back later and pose again, after it was all over. I missed the plane. Now we're confronted with something which NICAP is trying to break up and to overturn, and that is the policy of censorship by the military, which, among other things, reaches into many lines of endeavor, but it is directed, or has been the aspect of it that we're fighting, of keeping the public from knowing what's going on in the field of these unidentified flying objects. Now this stemmed from the fact that they swarmed over Washington in July and August of 1952. And it also stems from the fact that we have not been able to cope with these things, and somewhere somebody up in the upper levels of our military decided that rather than tell the public that there's something up there they can't cope with, we'll tell the public that there's nothing up there, while all the time we are working and trying to find out some means to counteract them. As you have seen from one of those, that UFOs are serious business document. They regard it seriously. They're trying to combat them. Let me point out an example of how this censorship and suppression works. On the night of April 18th, 1962, a glowing red object appeared over New York State, over Oneida, New York. It was seen by a ground watchers group there. They reported it to the nearest air base. They got it on radar. They began tracking it. It was at very high altitude, at that time somewhere between 75 and 100 miles. It was moving southwestward and rather slowly. It was tracked all the way across the middle part of the country to Gridley, Kansas, where it changed course, went up over Nebraska and Wyoming and part of Colorado, and then it or a similar object landed beside a power station at Eureka, Nevada. The power station went out of business. Coincidence, probably. But while this thing was on the ground there by the power station was out of operation. It was out of operation for about 42 minutes, according to the Air Defense Command. That gave the Air Defense Command, which was in quite a flap as a result of this thing, it gave them time to get up a flight of armed jet interceptors from the base at Phoenix and another from Stead Field at Reno. They were vectored in on this thing, which had in the meantime taken off from near the power station. The power station came back into operation. The object took off after the object took off, and then the power station came back into business. Then the jets were vectored in on this object. It was then totally dark. They were chasing it westward across Nevada when the thing exploded in flight about 70 miles south of Reno, and the flash was so brilliant that it was seen over 5 states. Scientists out there who saw the flash said this appeared to be an atomic explosion. Neither the Strategic Air Command nor the Air Defense Command nor the Air Force would say whether they had shot at this thing. They would only say that the jets were being vectored in on it when it exploded. Maybe it just lost its temper and blew its top, but for some reason it blew up out there over the desert, which was a very good place to do it. Now, this is an important news story. It's a big news story when an unidentified object crosses the United States at a level at which we can't intercept it, and then comes down beside a power station. The power station goes out of business. Armed jets are sent after the thing. They're chasing it when it blows up. This is a big news story. The Air Force and the Air Defense Command both said this could not have been a meteor because it was tracked on radar and because of the fact that it landed and took off again. They said, we don't know what it was. This came out on one news wire in 4 lines of copy. It said, an unidentified flying object believed to have been a meteorite flashed over the state of Nevada and other Great Plains states last night and exploded over the desert south of Reno. That's the kind of news that you got out of the newswire on this. Now, the newswire either didn't check the story, or for some reason they decided that they would not carry it. My feeling is that they have a deal with the Air Force not to carry it, that they have a deal with the entire Defense Department. Because if you want this story, incidentally, it's on April the 19th, 1962, Las Vegas Sun, which carried an 8-column banner.